Today, we're going to talk about a fascinating company that started its life as the first publicly traded crypto miner on planet Earth, pivoted twice through the worst years the industry has ever had, and just announced it's spending $2.5 billion to build one of the largest artificial intelligence factories in Canada. That company is HIVE Digital Technologies, and it closed Monday up 26%. And it's on BuzzPulse this morning with 6 independent convergence layers firing on it. I'm Ken Carpenter. Welcome to Invest AI Savvy, where AI powers smart investing. Welcome to Tuesday, May 19th, 2026. The system flagged this one overnight, and when I went looking for what was driving it, I found something remarkable because the story underneath the signal is bigger than the signal. So buckle in. Today, we're going to do a deep dive on HIVE. Now, quick housekeeping before we go any further. This show is for educational purposes only. It's not investment advice. So please do your own research. Consult a licensed professional before you make any trade. Now, HIVE Digital Technologies. The company is becoming a different company right in front of us. Quick overnight picture before we get to the main event. The VIX is at 18.2, up about 1% over the last 5 days. Calm but restless, not panic, not euphoria. S&P 500, NASDAQ, and Russell 2000 futures are all down between 0.33% and 0.7%. Bitcoin is hovering near 76,600. No Fed this week, no CPI print. It's a watch and see session. Now, let me tell you what the system found last night. It was HIVE, HIVE, a small cap equity. It trades on the NASDAQ under HIVE. What a coincidence. Member of the Russell 2000, it closed Monday at $3.46 after a 26% up day. 6 independent convergence layers fired on this one overnight. A BuzzSurge Z-score of 11.2. That's not a noise reading, that's momentum confirmed. Options flow confirming direction, social attention spiking. Now, the morning brief came to me with the catalyst marked as unknown, so I went in and looked. This is not a mystery signal. The catalyst was sitting right there in plain sight. On Monday morning before the bell, HIVE Digital Technologies announced through its subsidiary, BUZZ HPC, that it is building an AI Gigafactory in the greater Toronto area. $2.5 billion in US money, $3.5 billion in Canadian, 320 megawatts of utility power, more than 100,000 high-performance GPUs at full build, target launch second half of 2027. That's not a press release. That is the entire identity of the company changing. The stock opened up over 30%, touched $3.92 in pre-market, settled into the 340s for most of the session, and closed up 26%. So what BuzzPulse is showing me is not a signal floating in the dark. It's a signal sitting on top of real, verified, public information. The convergence math is doing exactly what I meant it to do. Social attention, options flow, momentum, and surge all started agreeing with each other inside of one trading session. Now, the signal has a story, and the story is pretty interesting. Now, let me back up because most people listening might not have heard of this company. I had not before the system put it in front of me. HIVE Digital Technologies, originally HIVE blockchain, headquartered in Vancouver, founded in 2017 as the first publicly traded cryptocurrency mining company on the TSX Venture Exchange. They mined Ethereum out of Iceland because Iceland has cheap geothermal power. Then they expanded into Sweden and Canada. Same idea every time. Find the cheapest, cleanest power on Earth and point computers at it. In 2021, they made what looks now like the most important decision in the company's history. They spent 26 million US dollars buying 38,000 GPUs from NVIDIA, the kind of chip that can mine Ethereum, but also, as it turned out, the kind of chip that can train an artificial intelligence model. Then 2022 happened. Ethereum switched from proof of work to proof of stake. In one single day, the entire global business of mining Ethereum stopped existing. The CEO, a guy named Aiden Killick, and I apologize, Mr. Killick, if I mispronounced your name, said this meant a business unit doing $55 million in annual revenue ceased to exist overnight. His exact phrase was, quote, "How do you survive?" Well, turns out it was innovation. And here's what they did. They had 38,000 NVIDIA GPUs sitting in green energy data centers around the world. They could have sold them. They could have folded the company, but instead they pivoted those GPUs into two businesses at the same time. They mine Bitcoin with them and they rent them out as AI computing power. In July of 2023, they changed the name from HIVE blockchain to HIVE digital to signal the pivot. By last year, the AI piece was running at a $100 million annual revenue target on NVIDIA H100 chips, with the next generation Blackwell chips coming. The leadership, Aiden Killich, the CEO, started his career as a radio frequency engineer at Sierra Wireless after an engineering degree from Simon Fraser University. He went into real estate during the 2008 financial crisis, and then he co-founded a crypto mining company called Fortress Blockchain. In 2021, the executive chairman of HIVE, a finance guy named Frank Holmes, asked Killich to come over and run HIVE. Holmes is the well-known mutual fund manager who used to run U.S. global investors. He's the chairman and Killich is the operator. Together, they did something most small companies cannot do. They survived the death of their original business by becoming something else. So here's Monday morning's announcement. Now, let me just give you sort of the feel of it. BUZZ HPC, the AI subsidiary, bought 25 acres of land near the Toronto Waterloo Innovation Corridor for 58 million Canadian dollars. That land sits next to the University of Toronto and the Vector Institute, which is the major AI research institution in Canada. The site has a 320 megawatt power allocation. That's enough electricity to power around 200,000 average homes. All of it in one location dedicated to running GPUs for artificial intelligence. The press release used a phrase I want you to hear because it matters for who the customer is going to be. They called it sovereign AI infrastructure. Sovereign AI is the idea that countries are increasingly nervous about running their most sensitive AI workloads on data centers owned by American hyperscalers. Canada wants Canadian AI data to stay in Canada. Europe wants European AI to stay in Europe. The UK and India want the same. That market is being built right now, and the BUZZ HPC is positioning it to be the Canadian piece of it all. Frank Holmes, the chairman, gave them their pull quote. He said, AI is the new industrial base and compute is the factory floor. That's the billion-dollar sentence dressed as one short metaphor. Now, the part to keep in mind, target operational date is the second half of 2027. This is not a thing that produces revenue tomorrow. This is a multi-year build. The market on Monday was pricing in the fact that the company is now committed publicly to a path. The actual cash flow from that path is years away. I would be doing you a disservice if I told you that HIVE is now a guaranteed up and to the right story, because it's not. The financials are the financials of a small, ambitious, capital-hungry company. Their most recent quarter showed about $93 million in revenue and a net loss of about $91 million. Margins are negative. They're pouring money into property, plant, and equipment, which is what you would expect from a company that just announced a $2.5 billion build-out. Their Bitcoin treasury, which used to peak around 2,600 coins, is now around 481 Bitcoin. They've been selling Bitcoin to fund this transition. Reasonable people can disagree with that choice. The total enterprise value of the company is somewhere around $700 million. They just committed to spending more than 3 times that on a single facility. The math only works if they can raise the capital, hit the construction timeline, and sign customers before the lights come on in 2027. So what BuzzPulse is showing me is a setup with a real catalyst, real convergence steps, and real execution risk on the other side. The proof layer on a 6-layer convergence setup based on the most recent 38 signals in the log has a 60.5% hit rate on 3% moves within 48 hours. This is not a sure thing. 38 is still a young sample. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. What I can tell you is this is one of the cleanest catalyst plus convergence setups the system has surfaced this week. I trust the signal more than I trust Fridays, and I'll tell you on Wednesday whether the system was right. The proof layer for HIVE stands this morning at $3.40. We'll check it in 2 sessions. If the system is right, you'll see the number on Wednesday's tape. If it's wrong, you'll see that too, and I'll be back here to tell you about it. $2.5 billion in announced spending, 320 megawatts of power, 6 convergence layers firing on the same name on the same overnight signals. A small cap company that started as an Ethereum miner in Iceland and is in public in front of us all becoming something else. That's not a mystery. That's a company telling you what it's going to be and the system telling you the market is listening. Tomorrow, we'll check the numbers. I'm Ken Carpenter. This is Invest AI Savvy, and that's the way it is.